Us Brits, we are a nation of tea drinkers. We love our cups of tea. We often find that a cup of tea is the solution to all of our problems and issues. And that is rightly so. And so is a glass of wine. So what happens if you want to combine your favourite Earl Grey with a glass of wine? Can it be done? Has it been done? Have you tried wine tea? Well, if you haven't, you're missing out. Wine tea is one of those most awesome, fantastic, cheap wines you can make at home so easily. This is a classic country wine. It's one of those wines that people used to make by the gallon many years ago. It's gone out of fashion recently because people are going for great varieties and they are making a wider range of wine. My grandmother taught me this recipe when I was a wee lad. She would always keep the dregs of a teapot and pour it into a demijohn, and then when it got up to 4 litres, she would brew it. This recipe is slightly different because with the invention of the tea bag, I don't tend to drink tea from teapots too often, and I'm more of a coffee drinker. The end result really does not taste like tea at all. It's, well, you'll have to wait for the taste test to find out what it really tastes like. That'll be coming up once it's fermented and I've bottled it and it's all ready to be drunk. So if you want to be notified of when the taste test comes out, please subscribe down below and you get notified of that video and all the other videos I made about winemaking. So on to the recipe. This is a recipe I love to make because of its simplicity, and also the end result is fantastic. It's awesome, it's brilliant. It's quite a strong wine and it's more of a winter's drink, so make it in the spring, this time of year, April time, and be perfect for those dark winter nights where you fancy a wee tot, a wee tipple of this gorgeous, light, white, refreshing, strong wine. So first thing you need to do is grab yourself 16 to 18 tea bags of your favourite blend. Different teas give different flavours, naturally, to the wine. So choose the tea bag you most prefer. If you don't like tea, or if you don't drink tea, do not worry because the wine does not taste like tea. But experiment with different flavoured tea bags. I find that the perfect amount of my favourite tea bags is 16. You may want to add a few more or a few less. It does depend on how strong the flavour of the tea is. So experiment, have fun with it, play around. Why not get 2 or 3 different demijohns on the go of this wine? Because it's dirt cheap, it's easy, it's a simple recipe. With your 16 tea bags, you want to throw them into a stock pot or a large saucepan. And then add the juice of 1 lemon, or from a squirty bottle, 1 cup or the juice of a lemon's worth, straight in on top of the tea bags. The juice of the lemon adds a nice bit of acidity to help the yeast do its job. Yeast like quite acidic environment. If you don't have lemon juice, you can also add some citric acid from a pot. But I do prefer to add lemons or lemon juice because I think it gives a wee hint of lemony flavour to the wine. And all the flavour is good. Next step, you want to add your sugar. You want to be adding about 1.4 to 1.5 kilos of sugar to the wine. If you add a bit more sugar, it does become slightly stronger. And the tea wine can really carry that alcoholic flavour. It becomes this lovely, delicious, potent, fantastic warming wine. So pour your sugar into the bowl with your tea bags and the lemon juice. And we're missing something. There's something else to add right now. And that's some boiling water to make your tea lovely and sweet and wet. So pour over 4.5 litres of boiling water and get that sugar all dissolved. Give it a good stir. Some recipes out there call for the addition of currants or sultanas. That stems from when a lot of the older recipes didn't have access to yeast nutrients and they thought that the currants or sultanas would help invigorate the yeast. The fact of the matter is that the currants, sultanas, raisins don't actually add any nutrients to the yeast. It does add a bit more added extra sugar because back in the day when these recipes were being written down in recipe books, cookbooks, currants and sultanas were cheaper than sugar was. Now we import so much sugar, currant sultanas are more expensive, therefore you may as well go for the cheaper option of adding more sugar. Currants, sultanas, raisins do not generally add a great deal to your wine, apart from a wee little bit of flavour. If you made a rice wine, the addition of raisins really bring out that rice flavour because they contrast really well. I have a great video on rice and raisin wine, so why don't you check it out at the end of the video and see how I add my raisins to my rice wine. At this stage of the wine, where you've added your 16 tea bags, your lemon juice, your sugar and your boiling water, you want to let it steep for a while, for about 15-20 minutes. So put a lid on it, let it brew, and go for a brew yourself, and I'll be back with you before you know it. And I'm back. The tea wine has been stood for 15-20 minutes or so. The tea bags have been brewing and making that tea really strong and awesomeness. The sugar has dissolved and the temperature has come right the way down to room temperature. So now we are ready to move on to the next step, which is to extract the tea bags and put them into your compost heap, or recycle them, or however you get rid of your tea bags, get rid of them that way. And then we're going to move on to the next stage, which is to pour all that tea into a clean, sterilised demijohn or 5-litre water bottle. And there we have it. I'm leaving a bit of headspace at the top of the demijohn so that the yeast have some oxygen to work with. Yeast really love oxygen at the start of the fermentation process, so give them a lot of air. In due course, I'm going to top this wine up with another big mug of tea so that it comes right the way up to the neckline. But now we want to get the fermentation started, so I'm going to be adding my yeast. You can use any wine yeast of your liking, of your choice, but my personal preference for tea wine is Cross My Loof Christmas Pudding Wine, but any generic wine yeast will do the job really well. So you want to open up your packet and pour the dried yeast into the demijohn. Then once you've done that stage, simply apply an airlock, fill it up with the right type of liquid to suit your needs, and then tuck the demijohn away in a warm place. Top it up after a week or so with a cup of warm tea, then let it ferment till dry. You can back sweeten then if you like. The tea wine will be stored away until winter, 6, 8, 10 months away, and then it will be a delicious drop for around the fire. And if you want to know what you should put into your airlocks, watch this video up by here.